We now go to the second part of this module, which is about Buddhism towards gender equality. While many suttas present a very sharp critique of Brahminical practices and attitudes, when it comes to the question of gender, the Buddha seems to have been a little reluctant to upset established social norms. Presently, it is a matter of live debate among Buddhist feminists and academics as to what the Buddha thought and what he taught about the admission of women into the Sangha, about their capacities and their status. According to the story of the foundation of the Bhikkhuni Sangha, as it is described in the Sutta and Vinaya literature, the Buddha was very reluctant to admit women into the Sangha. Despite Mahaprajapati Gautami's pleas on behalf of herself and the Shakyan women, he remained firm in his refusal. Undeterred, Gautami went along with 500 Shakyan women, having shaved her hair and donned the robes of a mendicant. They followed the Buddha's retinue on foot all the way from Kapilavastu to Vaishali. When Ananda saw the royal women waiting at the Buddha's door in a state of complete exhaustion and distress, he was moved to approach the great teacher on their behalf. The Buddha, who had not given any explanation for his refusal to Gautami, was now engaged in a dialogue by Ananda. This dialogue is rich in reason as well as in emotion. The Buddha is forced to admit that women have the same capacities as men, and that becomes the ground for admitting them into the Sangha. He puts one caveat, however. Mahaprajapati has to first accept the Atthagarudhamma, or the 8 heavy rules, which will be also binding for all nuns. According to one account, while Mahaprajapati accepted the rules in order to enter the Sangha, she goes back to the Buddha to question him about the first and the most discriminatory rule. This rule stipulates that even the most senior-most nun has to pay homage to the junior-most monk. The Buddha refuses to take back this rule, arguing that even the Tirthikas do not grant equal status to women. The term Tirthika was used for the so-called heretical sects, and here it was used probably with reference to Jainism. And so, even though women constituted one half of the monastic section of the Sangha, they were placed under the symbolic and administrative control of monks. Today, the Bhikkhu Sangha continues to exert not just symbolic but often real authority over the Bhikkhuni Sangha. This is despite the valiant efforts of women to assert their own agency, taking inspiration from the many voices of emancipated Buddhist women that are preserved in Buddhist scripture. In the Anguttara Nikaya of the Sutta Pitaka, alongside his foremost male disciples, monastics and lay people, the Buddha also lists the foremost female disciples. Among the nuns, for instance, Mahaprajapati is mentioned in terms of seniority and wisdom, Khema in terms of propagating the teachings, Dhammadinna, Bhadda Kundalakesa and Bhadda Kachana in terms of insight, and so on. A long list of the foremost nuns is followed by a list of his foremost lay disciples. The act of naming reveals that when it comes to the inclusion of women, Buddhism did not pay mere lip service. The capacities and contributions of individual women are acknowledged in the earliest canonical texts. When Buddhism is characterized as a modern religion, a religion ahead of its times and radical even for our times. At least a part of the credit should go to the Buddha's female disciples, the Theris whose utterances are preserved in the Theri Gatha of the Sutta Pitaka as well as the Bhikkhuni Sanyutta. Perhaps the earliest recorded texts by women to have come down to us. These verses are extraordinary for the glimpse they give us into the messy material lives of women whose focus on the spiritual path is nevertheless unwavering. The high spiritual status of these women is apparent not only through the content of the Gathas but also its form. Each of these songs of the Bhikkhuni Sanyutta is in the form of a dialogue between Mara, the demon, who stands for illusion or ignorance, and a Theri who is intent on meditation. The parallel with the Buddha's own encounter with Mara just before his enlightenment is obvious here. Faced with the Bhikkhuni's steadfast effort, Mara is forced to retreat. Some of these dialogues seem to anticipate modern day feminist debates around biological and social difference, sex and gender. When Mara mocks Soma's efforts at concentration, that by pointing out that such meditative states that are hard even for the seers cannot be attained by a woman with her two-fingered wisdom. Soma counters, what does womanhood matter at all when the mind is concentrated well, when knowledge flows on steadily as one sees correctly into the Dhamma? One to whom it might occur, I am a woman, or I am a man, or I am anything at all. Such a person is fit for Mara to address. Mara is defeated by Soma's argument, which consists of two parts. Firstly, she argues sex or gender does not matter at all for spiritual practice, which is all about concentration of the mind. Secondly, man and woman are mere conceptions. To claim any sort of identity contradicts the Buddha's teachings. Mara's words might confuse an individual who has a clear sense of self-identity. But for the enlightened person, these labels are mere conventions, and hence Mara's words have no meaning.